here's the installation, and it's TIG welded and plenty strong. And firstly, I assembled these as supplied, and I think it took me a day to lose an acorn nut and one of these cosmetic plexi style washers that they supply. Nice touch for these, especially for these outboard fasteners. But to not instruct people to use Loctite, you know, I mean, I should know better. Shame on me. But you know, whether it be for these mount pieces that have a an anchor that goes underneath, or for the threads on this bolt, to not have Loctite on there means that it's going to self-disassemble. These do not hold together under force of vibration. The other thing is that when you crank these plastic donuts down and use simply these washers top and bottom as they're supplied, and as they're fairly well described in the instruction manual, you know, sorry to have to plunk around, but you know, they supply a diagram that, you know, shows the washers. And basically what I'm talking about is that piece goes through the bracket. You got one of those cosmetic washers top and bottom, and then a lock washer, of course. And then there's a couple of images that show that they need to be mirror images because they're going to go one on each side of the vehicle. But here's the thing, is that, you know, this bike's 35 years old, and the pair that was on there were wore out. These are a replacement, you know, bike's got 114,000 miles. But something that I really hated about the original setup was that when you crank these down, I don't care how hard you crank them, when you're going 80 miles an hour, there is no blankety blank way that these are going to withstand the force of the wind. Another aspect of it is that you've got a bracket that's offset, and I think taking the time for those who aren't mechanical to say, oh, by the way, if you flip this 180 degrees, you'll have 2/3 less deflector out in the air, you know, to force these things around the corner, because there's really not enough compression on that bracket to get that to hold. So here's what I want to just offer to the world. You know, this is automotive fuel line that I've sat down, I stood at the bench with a razor blade knife and lopped off what I would call a compression washer out of fuel line. And that added on all 4 points on both sides between the bracket and a flat washer is my solution to this problem. Now, just note that, you know, I could conceivably put another one on the upside here, and on this one it would be on the downside, to double the amount of rubber, and it's windy today, double the amount of rubber friction, but that would push this bracket up about 1/4 inch and make everything look kind of kludgy. So by putting it only on the bottom and then running this on, you really don't change the geometry of these brackets and having 90-degree angles. All these fasteners, acorn nuts, add some Loctite to them. Heck, on this plastic ball there is a, what do you call it, a blind nut insert, you know, pressed fit metal threaded insert. Throw a little Loctite on that so that doesn't, you know, you should have everything be fairly snug and resistant to vibration. So anyway, Loctite here, Loctite here. Experiment with this rubber fuel line as a compression piece, because, you know, when you dial this on and it's fairly squishy, you know, maybe I made them 1/4 inch thick. You know, once that's tight, that puppy is really, really snug, and it gives you, you know, a useful range with this ball that really, by only running these plexi washers, you really just don't have any adjustability. But this fuel line gives you just that, you know, maybe 1/4 to a 1/2 turn that you can tweak it as you like it, tight as you need. Again, consider playing with rotating these 180 in or out to get more or less. It only takes a few minutes to flip them, and you'll have something I think that you'll find far more useful out on the road. So that's it. The sun is out. As you could hear, lots of bikes on the road. It's a beautiful day for a ride. Get out there, have some fun. One more thing is, these older Gold Wings are out there at ridiculous bargain rates. I've had this bike now for 4 years. I paid a handsome fee of $1 for it. Granted, I went all through it, had to rebuild the carbs and timing belts, tires, brakes. I had to go through it. But for well below 2 G's, I've got a bike that I could drive there and back. And I've spent a lot of time dicking around with drive lines on my BMWs. Honda does things Honda's way, and I got to tell you, when you get into a final drive assembly and you see a spline gear that's bathed in final drive hypoid lube instead of being simply in moly and something that has to be serviced with every couple tire changes, you come to appreciate the engineers at Honda and the care they put into designing these machines. Hydraulic valve train, just my 2 cents worth. I'm blown away at what people pay for a new vehicle, especially a Goldwing at 30 G's. Now, mind you, 10 years behind everybody else, I want to have an airbag equipped or paralever or suspension equipped Goldwing, but maybe I'll be 70 instead of 60 when I get to that. I'm running long. I hope you enjoy the information. And I would not hesitate to buy these Air Wing add-ons. Again, I think it was the better part of $70 after shipping. It's a good product, functional product.